Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Renee, and if you are new to my channel, I work in a middle school library. Today we are going to discuss my August reading wrap-up. All right, let's get right into it. So the first book I want to talk about is a middle grade book, and it's called A Place at the Table by Sadia Faruqi and Laura Chauvin. So this book follows Sarah and Elizabeth. Now, Sarah is a Pakistani American and Elizabeth is Jewish, and they're both sixth graders, and they decide to take a Southern Asian cooking class that Sarah's mom teaches, and it's after school. These two girls, they don't hate each other, but they're not in the same friend group, and they don't really know anything about each other. Sarah is kind of known as kind of the third wheel, the odd man out. She is usually by herself. She sketches in a sketchbook. Through this cooking class, they start to learn more about each other's lives and how similar their lives are to one another. And Elizabeth has a friend that is she is rude to especially Sarah. She makes very racist comments towards her, hate comments, and Elizabeth has a hard time standing up for her. And as Elizabeth and Sarah become friends, Sarah doesn't understand why Elizabeth won't stand up for her, and they start hanging out more, and we just get to see their friendship grow. And we also get to see both of their mothers, Sarah and Elizabeth's mother, are working on getting their citizenship. They're both struggling with it. And so when they learn that out about each other, they grow even tighter, and they set the moms up to meet, and you get to see the bond that those ladies make. And it's just an eye-opening book, and I just loved it. And I also loved the fact that the book expressed how you can bond through cooking or baking, learning each other's cultures and heritage, and it was just a really great book. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I can't wait until school starts on September 6th so I can recommend this book to many of my middle grade students. I hope it opens up young readers' minds to other people and other people's beliefs and cultures. And even though you might not celebrate what somebody else celebrates, but acknowledging it and learning about them and respecting them, it's just a great book. I loved it so much. So that's my first book that I wanted to talk about. The next book I wanted to talk about is another middle grade, and this author is no stranger to readers, and it is Jacqueline Woodson's Brown Girl Dreaming. I don't know why I took so long to read this book. I didn't give it 5 stars. I gave it 4 stars. I wanted to keep reading. I didn't realize how difficult of a life Jacqueline Woodson had. This is a book about her as a young girl growing up, her family dynamics, her family history, where she grew up. It was a humbling book to get her perspective on growing up in the South versus the North in the 60s and 70s during the Civil Rights Movement, and what her family went through, the struggles her family went through in the South versus the North. It was a very good book, and I think students would like the fact that it's written in verse. So it's really a quick read because not every page has a lot of words on it, and there's a lot to learn from this book. So I'm hoping I can get a couple of students to pick this up this school year. So again, 4 stars, Brown Girl Dreaming, middle grade read. Really great teaching moments in here. So liked it. Okay, the next book is Coop Knows the Scoop by Taryn Sodders. This book I gave 4 stars. It is a middle grade, and this book, it's a mystery. So Coop, his grandfather is accused of murdering Coop's grandmother many years ago because his grandmother went missing, and his grandfather kept going to the cops and trying to get them to look for her, saying she's a missing person. They kept telling him that she's an adult, she can leave without telling you if she wants to, that there's no evidence that she's actually missing. And then one day, I can't remember if they're building a new playground. I think it is. Anyways, the remains of somebody are found underneath a playground in their little town. And after the coroner does testing, they find out that it's Coop's grandmother. And so the grandfather gets taken in for questioning, and the cops are looking at Coop's grandfather as the culprit. And so Coop takes it upon himself to try to solve this mystery. So he goes snooping around town, he goes eavesdropping, he goes to these different places to stir up conversation in the community. He's looking at his grandpa's house for evidence and through old photo books and stuff, and I really enjoyed it. I think any middle grade student that likes mysteries and adventure would like this. So I'm hoping to get this into the hands of some students this year. So Coop Knows the Scoop got 4 stars for me. It is a good read. The next book is a YA, and I gave it 3 stars, and it is Hot Dog Girl by Jennifer Dugan. I gave it 3 stars because I felt like there could have been a little bit more character development in here, and I felt like, I don't know, I just wasn't, as I was reading it, I didn't get the vibe of never wanting to put it down. It was a good story, and it follows Lou Parker. It's the last year working at a theme park because the theme park is closing, and she gets the job of dressing up as a hot dog and walking around the park. And her friends and her crush also work there. Nick, her crush, he's a diving pirate is Nick's job. And then Nick's girlfriend is a princess. And then her best friend, Celie, is the carousel operator. So it follows Lou trying to connect with Nick, and her best friend Celie is gay, and she uses that to try to get close to Nick. She pretends she gets her best friend Celie to agree to pretend to date her and go on a double date with Nick and his girlfriend, because Lou feels that she's noticed a couple of connections with Nick and she just wants to spend more time with him to see if it really was a connection or if he's just being nice. So it follows their journey as friends and her journey with Nick and Nick's girlfriend. It was an interesting read. I wouldn't say I'd highly recommend reading it. I'd like to try some other books by this author to see if it was just this book that I felt was or if all of her books are that way. So, Hot Dog Girl, young adult, 3 stars. Give it a try. Just because it wasn't for me doesn't mean it's not for you, right? Am I right? I'm right. Okay, my next book is a middle grade book. I gave it 4 stars. It is When Life Gives You Mangoes by Corinne Getton. So this book follows Clara, who lives on a exotic island that frequently gets hit by hurricanes, and she lives there with her papa, and Clara is having a hard time remembering what happened a few weeks ago or even within the last month. And she spends a lot of time with her friend Ghana. I'm not certain how to say her name, but Clara has also noticed that her best friend hasn't been the way she used to be. Things are a little different and she's trying to find out why. And she always gets a funny feel. Her best friend always gets doesn't want to go near the water. And so it was a very good read. I wanted to get to the end to see what happened within that last month that she was having a hard time remembering, and there's a twist that I didn't see coming. And also, Clara's uncle is kind of the island outcast. He is known as this, what did they say he was called? He claims he can see dead people, so they think he's dabbling in witchcraft or something. He's got the devil in him, and Clara is not allowed to go to her uncle's house, but she does anyways because she wants to try to see if she is like her uncle. So there's a lot to unravel in this story, and I can't wait to get this into students' hands that like a mystery, and to see if they can predict what's going on in this book. So, When Life Gives You Mangoes, 4 stars from me. All right, next book I'd like to talk about is, I don't have it with me, but I'll insert an image here. It's Betty Before X by Betty Shabazz. This book I gave 3 to 4 stars, maybe 3.5 stars. It is a middle grade read, and it follows Betty Shabazz, who was married to Malcolm X. This book follows Betty growing up in some tough times. There's civil rights movement. There are some trigger warnings for human. They talk about people being hung from trees. And Betty sees this and tries to understand from her grandmother what's going on. Betty's mom is not in her life, and then something tragic happens and Betty has to go live with her mom. And so the story takes you through Betty's life and Betty's upbringing and what she does to try to bring light to what's going on in the world. Talks about her meeting her husband Malcolm and his movement of trying to reach people and it was a really good book. I have had it in the library for a while and it's caught my eye, and I never read it, and I would highly recommend it to any student that likes historical reads. They can learn a lot from it, and definitely pick it up. Now, the last book I want to talk about is an adult book, and it's called Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I gave this book 3 stars. I was hoping I would have liked it a little more. I know that a lot of people loved it, so I'm kind of the odd man out when it comes to that. I don't know, I had a hard time connecting with the characters in here. So it follows Macy and Elliot. They have been best friends since they were little, and then as they hit their teenage years, they grow apart. And then years later, I can't remember how many years later, they run into each other, and feelings start coming back to both of them. Elliot is single, but Macy is engaged, and so they have to reconnect and see if there's still something there, if Macy needs to change her path that she's about to take. And it also flashes back and forth, so it goes back in time of when they first met and, you know, growing up to that teenage year. So each chapter is when they were younger and then as they're an adult. And it's good, but I just didn't connect with it like a lot of people seem to be connecting with. And I don't know if it's because I strung out the length of time that I read it, because there were some readathons that I put other books ahead of this. So I started it and then stopped to do other books and then went back to it a little bit and then stopped to go to other books. So I don't know if I'm giving it a fair rating because of that, but I didn't feel it. I'm sorry to all those that love this book. But again, you could pick it up. Maybe it's your cup of tea, your Java. Just wasn't mine. So, love the cover though. It's a beautiful cover. So, anyways, well, everybody, that is my August reading wrap up. I did very well, I felt, for the month of August. Like I said in my September TBR, I will be starting back at school Tuesday, September 6th. So I don't really know if I will have enough time to read as many books as I have been each month. You know, everybody always says, oh, you should work in the library, you can just read all day. Really, that's not the case. There's a lot to do. You can't just sit there and read. So we'll see what happens with the channel. Hopefully I can get some decent material to upload, and we will see. So next time you see me, school will have started, and maybe I can give you an update on how my library is. Until then, have a great rest of your summer, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.